G'day, how you going? I'm Ian Applis, acrylic guru from Australia. Welcome to my channel. What I'm going to do is just put the size of the canvas up there, and also I want to get right over there the colours going up the screen. That's what I'm going to use in this tutorial today. Now this tutorial is going to be something exciting. You know why? Because it's a piece of art. It's going to have a moon, some water, rocks, reflections, distance and depth, all right? So get on all the way over here and I want to show you what I've laid out on the canvas. Rightio, I have my horizon area here and it's being cut in front by a piece of land and all rocks on that land. There's going to be another mid-ground island here, and that's just indicating some distant pine trees. And on this one there'll be some pine trees, and then there'll be rocks just sort of on the surface and coming under the water here, and there'll be a beautiful reflection of the moon in the water as well. So it's a beautiful still night and we're going to get a beautiful sky happening. Now down here I've got my soft body titanium white, and I've mixed in some retarder there to slow down the drying time of this acrylic paint. So I'll just need to prime up this canvas so as I can get the sky colours to blend. Pushing it right onto the tooth of the canvas. Once I've got it all on there, I need to come just to the tip of my brush, because you need to get this a nice even thin film so it's not big and thick and gluggy. Now down here I've got my Prussian blue. Oh, what's that? Hooker's green? I've got some Hooker's green too. I bought a tube. One of my good friends told me I should try it out, so I'm going to try it out in this video today. Now I want the sky nice and dark up here. It's sort of a night sky, and I'm going to come down. I want it very light where the moon's going to be, right about there. Nice and light values right about here, and then the top bit can be darker. So I'm just going to brush stroke it. So I've got dark to light. I'm going to simply wipe that brush, pick up the Prussian blue again and start at the bottom, come across the bottom, and I want to bring this from the bottom and bring that up to the horizon area as well. Now the bottom half of the water here, I want to get it a lot darker than that because it's water and it's night time or dusk time. I'll try and get it darker. Let's see how we're going to go. So I want it nice and dark here. So what I need to do is stamp it on like so, just so as I can control where I get my dark. Nice and dark there. And maybe a bit, watch this, a bit at the top. Bit there, scooting down about there, and maybe a bit over here. See, if I brush it on, I'm just going to do what I did here. That's why I'm stamping it on. And this is actually thick paint going on thin paint, believe it or not. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Now I need to wipe this, and I want to gingerly waterify that dark value in the water. There we go. Just get it simple and effective. It's up to you how realistic you want to go. I'm going to wipe the brush, and then the top. The top is being the sky. I could probably give that a bit more of a finesse, but I've got darker values there, and to me it's a night sky. Now before this dries, I want to get the glare for the moon and some cirrus night clouds. I've got a pouncer. I have dampened it and patted it dry just so as it's not wet. I mean, so as it's not bone dry, and it's going to absorb me paint. Now my moon is going to be about here. Where's those trees? About there. So I want the moon about, I'm going to push it really hard. There we go. Now this isn't my moon. This is just going to be the glare. So what I need to do is just glare the sky up in a beautiful large oval shape like so. That way I'm controlling where I'm going to get my glare in the sky. Grabbing a blending brush and a cloth so as I can bring you closer, and I want to stamp this evenly within the middle of it first, so as the middle of it is all the same value. And now I'm going to wipe what's on there, and then just slowly pull this back into the sky from the top there and pull it back into the sky, so as hopefully we've got a controlled glare one side, turn my brush around and pull this there. That's looking okay. Now I'm grabbing the white paint again on the pouncer and just pretty much within that area we want to get the same value in the water. Not too much, that'll do. And just pull that through the water as well, just like so. Now I've got to be careful not to bring the blue back onto the white, so I'm going to wipe the brush so that I can just glare that down. There we go. And we've got a glare in the sky and in the water. Now we'll just add our clouds. So I've got my fan brush and I've got titanium white out of the tube, just this stuff right here. And I want to get some cirrus clouds. They're all going to come across that way in the sky, so to speak. I won't go too much where the moon's going because the clouds have got to sit over the moon, not behind the moon. So I'll get the majority of them there first. Grabbing a blending brush, and I just want to sit those cirrus clouds down into the sky there. Just like that. Let them wiggle into that blue damp paint there. Try not to disturb your glare. Just a simple basic cloud formation in the night sky there. And see how I just sat them down just like that, just some simple cirrus cloud. I just have a little bit here. I just want to get remnants of some clouds in the water here. Something like that, that'll do. Nothing too much, that will do it. Bringing you closer to the art action, and then simply smear them down into the water as well. Okay. Just pull the water. If you want, you can, I'll just see, pull that mist just to waterify it gently. It's still wet. Beautiful. All right, give your canvas a dry so we can do the next stage. Okay, I've given that a dry and I've got my pouncer for the appropriate size I want my moon to be. And with the moon, we need to, I'm going to get some of this softer paint first just to condition my pouncer with the colour of white. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to use the titanium white. Now with the moon, we want to make it white and then put our colours in and then highlight it, okay? Now, my midground's there, my trees are going to come up there, so I want my moon about here. So what I want to do is get it on and give it a bit of a twist, just so the colour's going to go all the way around, because if I just stamped it on, it would not be a solid colour like that. And I simply want to get the same down into the water there, so my land's there. You know the glare you put on, the water in the sky? Make sure it's within that area as well. If it's to one side, it could look a bit wrong. I'm going to keep that because I still need that. Now, my goodness, there's so many ways you can do moons. I can get this willy-nilly onto my pouncer and pounce it on. But what I want to do, I've done it in videos before, the pouncer's still wet. I'm going to paint on here where I want my grey on the moon so I can control it. So, you know how the moon has like a certain shape to it, you can kind of do that on here if you want. Let's try this way, get right to the moon there. Give it a little bit of a wiggle. See it move, watch. It's not moving yet, it's twisting. Now it moved. Now I'll sort of pull it off, if I can. There we go, look at that. And I'll simply put the same reflection in the water if I can, if there's enough grey on there. Wiggle it, move it, just so it's pushed it on there. There we go, perfect. Now grab yourself a flat brush. This is just where you can add your pizzazz to it. Just kind of sit it down, get rid of any bits that you're not happy with, because you're the one creating your piece of art. So if you're not happy with something, just sit it down. And what I'm doing, this grey is standing out because I was able to put it on top of the white surface there. This top one, I'm going to lightly touch it just to give some kind of crater vibe about it. And I've got some black down on my canvas. I'm going to just get a little bit of darkness in there as well. This is a lot of sauce for little spaghetti, but I've got me grey. Now I just want to blackulate some of that, get a real darker value on both sides of my brush. And now the whole thing is wet. See those white bits? You want to sort of come in them, tinker around a bit. You might have to dry it. I haven't dried it yet. I'm going to just see if I can get away with it. Yeah, it's turning into mud, so I need to dry that. Okay, I've given it a dry, and I just want to, look at that now, I just want to carefully, it's very thick up here, give some darker values within this. We'll just get some darker values, and then we'll simply highlight this. I've got to turn the camera off and dry that a bit more so I can fix it up, because it's just looking like rubbish at the moment. But there's our darker bits. There we go, nothing too dramatic. I'm picking up the grey that I did there because I feel what I want to do, just a very little bit. You don't have to do this. I want to come from the moon and just gingerly put a couple of very fine scallops. They've got to be really fine. And I just want some kind of ripple effect in the water there. I've put a little bit of white because it wasn't opaque enough. Now, like I said, you don't have to do this, but if you feel you can get this going, by all means add it in. And what you can do is grab some of this value of the watercolour, and you just want to chisel the paint up again and come from the water just there, and then put the odd one within your moon. You're splicing the two. It just gives it that sense of, on the edge where the moon's hitting the edge there, see there? The edge, bit of the edge there. And just fix up the grey if you've sort of made a mess of anything there. I've cleaned the brush, everything's had a dry, and I'm picking up the titanium white on its own now. You want this nice and vibrant. Come to your moon here. Get the edge and just let this highlight scratch over the darkness. Just sinking a lot of that grey back now. You needed that grey under there just to give it the vibe of a realistic moon. Soften some of the darks back if they're too dark for your liking. Just work on one half first. So I'm just working on the sky half first. And don't fuss too much, just kind of wiggle it in. It'll bring itself together. I'm going to look at my monitor just to see how that's faring. And then the same with the bottom. Just glare this up against the edge there, right against the edge there. There we go. Jingle and jangle it through the body of the structure there, just like that. Now I'm coming sideways here, and I want some of this just floating out on top of that grey now. Those grey bits. That's why I said you don't have to do this if you feel you don't have the hand for it. Go as far as you're capable with within my video tutorials. You don't have to go the whole way, because depending how far or advanced you are in your art journey is how far you take yourself. Like this landscape that I'm doing now, this waterscape, you can even do it without the moon. But anyway, there we go. Okay, now that was fun and exciting. Now you can use this tutorial just to do that moon section on its own. There's a tutorial within itself right there. And I know if you want to do it, you can do it. Now just to sink that moon down, I'm grabbing some of the thicker white titanium paint there. And I just want to get some of these clouds here a little bit more heavier now, just around near the moon there. And some of them are going to come over the moon. But follow what you've done there, just slightly, just like that. There's nothing there, but I'll put something there. Come right in front of the moon now with some of this cloud dust or cloud lines or whatever. Come right in front of it. Don't worry about these reflections in the water. The water's going to be distorted. Now, I don't know if you've noticed. Let's see how clever some of you are. In me laying these little clouds on here, I haven't just gone willy-nilly. All right? I've done a vanishing point. If anything, they are coming on a V like this. Okay, can you see that? It's subtle, but it's just those subtleties when people are looking at your work. It just gives it that aspect of, well, he did well, or she did well painting that painting. That's all. Now this can be dry. That's all finished. That's our background, top and bottom. Now normally I will just paint this in, but I've drawn them on with pencil so you can see you've got a far midground and a center midground here. This one is below the horizon line, that one's just a bit on it. I've got a gap so you can look like you can see around. Now I've got some tree, I've got a line there, I want them just cutting in front of the moon. They're going to be on top of that land out there and the reflection is going to come down in the water there. So I've got my Hooker's green in my filbert brush and I've also got my dagger brush. This is going to block in the massive trees and this will find the details at the top. And I might have to put a bit of black with this. We'll see how we go if it's not dark enough. So what I want to do is I'm just going to gingerly case in the tops, the height and the lowness I want them and how I want it to come in front of that moon. Is start bringing that down, just come straight down there to nothing. There we go. Block this into that land area there. You don't need any windows or openings in it, I don't feel. This is way in the background. Now simply do the same again to the bottom. Put it on and drag it down. Get it to the bottom there. I'm going to drag that down how I want it. There we go. I'm putting it on and just gingerly dragging that down so it's opening up. See? Putting it on, hang on, let's get some off the brush there. Put it on and use the dryness and the scratchiness of the brush just to get that. I don't want it like this, I want it scratchy looking. There we go. Now careful when you come to the moon, we can detail that with a smaller brush. We don't want to go putting big massive blobs over our nicely constructed moon. Draggy and pull it down just in front of the moon there. Control the detail you're putting in front of that moon. That's it. If I used the big brush, I reckon I would have went blobby and snotty looking. Now I'm going to use this brush to get, I want it scratchy. I want to get me trees there. So I'm just going to get a couple of trees here now. Just like so. Just getting the tops of this all scratchy the way I want it. I want one right in front of the moon. Look at that. Get one there. They're my main ones. Now I'm just going to scratch all this and try and get some resemblance of, what are they, pine trees, Everglades trees. I've got this one here, so what I'm going to do is just simply put it on, come down a bit and scratch it, distorting that length there. little bit there, then we got one there, and another one next to it, and this one here. I've got them there. Now I'll load up the brush and just get it on to the desired thickness. Don't panic with your reflections, they can be distorted, a bit longer, a bit wobbly. I'm just going to put them in there, right? And then I'll just detail them off camera. I want this one in front of the moon. Now I've got my little dagger brush. I've got some green oxide here. I want to load up my brush and just gingerly put some values of lighter areas in those trees. Getting the thickness of my brush, and then I'll watch this. I'm going to make this tree look like he's in front of all that by bringing it down. There we go. Get beyond the darkness when you're highlighting it, I feel. I'll just turn the light meter up. And just gingerly getting this over that Hooker's green. And then once I've done this, I will stand back. Like I say all the time, I will analyse it and just see where I need lights and darks. Just put it on and drag it down past that darker colour. I'll show you what I mean again. See this darker colour here? You do not want to come there and stop there. You want to come past it, just to give it the vibe of the reflection. Grab some of the Hooker's green over here and just blackulate it a bit. Get it some dark. I've got some blue in there as well, some of the Prussian blue. I suppose we can put some of the Prussian blue with it, but I want to darken it up just to put depth in there. Okay, so I want to come from the bottom and just kind of push up the darkness from the bottom. And from the bottom. And now I'm just grabbing the green oxide again and just kind of putting the light bits back. Like I said, fine tuning it, putting them back into the darker areas where I feel I might need some of it. What I might do here is get some white and manipulate some of that green oxide just a little bit, just so as maybe here, I'll just see what it's going to look like. Just dancing the tops of this and filtering it down so you look like you've got that brightness of the moon shining through that part of the foliage there. Nice and scratchy and hairy though, not big, thick, solid marks. And be sure to replicate this in your reflections, and it just looks more graciously great for the person looking at it as well. Lit up. I'm just going to grab the darkest I've got down here, which is the Hooker's green there. Get a bit of water with it. And some more black, just so as I can block in that mid-ground centerpiece there. And the best way to get the bottom of that nice and level is use our bullshit stick and get, see there's my line. I'm going to rest it on here. Where's my line? There we go. Get it level to there. I want to come from here because I want to leave the water there. So I want that nice and straight, cutting back the reflection. Boom. This is dark. We're going to paint it the proper colour. This is just needs this. Now if you want a straight edge stick like this, the art shops do sell them. I made this one up, but don't go in there and ask for a bullshit stick. It's called a square. That's the proper term for it. If you want a square, go and see what they got. Now I've got some burnt sienna and raw sienna there, so I want to start with the darker one, which is the burnt sienna. So I want to kind of come just up there a bit, leaving some darkness. There we go. And now this hill, I'll come on that hill there. This colour putting on now is going to look a bit weird, but when we highlight it, it'll be okay. There, like that. Going backwards and forwards. I might even have to go back with the burnt sienna again. See how we go. Grabbing some of the raw sienna now in my brush. I want to get it loaded so I can scratch it on there. I want to get the tops done. Leaving a lot of the darkness there. Always go that little bit beyond your dark edge. See there? There. Just scratching a resemblance of that vibe into the water as well. Now down here, I'm just going to steal some white and then gradually marbleise some of that, meaning mixing it together, but not fully, but you don't want it too loud either. And just gingerly, watch this, right above, making your shapes that you intended to make. I'm grabbing the watercolour, but a very pale version of it. And before we put the second mid-ground mountain in, I just got to put the water layer there. So grabbing my bullshit stick and just see here how this line's coming down in front. This is just going to glare up in here a bit. Okay. But we want to come right across here first. I'm starting where the water meets the land. Nice across there. Beautiful. Come right off. Now there's a lot of this glare right in there until, come down a little bit, just covering that blue blob up. See the gap between those two? That's how this stick helps create bits and vibes like that. Just like that. And then all out here as well. Okay. I've got my ground there. That's going to have some trees on it. I want to put them on first, then bring this in front. I'll wet my brush down a bit. I've got some, is this it? This is the Perylene green. It's dark. And I'll draw this in just so you know where it is. Right there, like that. That's the land. It's going to come along here somewhere. Like that. One about here. Bang. Another one about right up there in the big blue sky. These are all crooked, broken. If it's a pine forest, it's already been harvested, and these are the trees they left behind that weren't good enough. Leave bits of gaps, and when you get to the bottom, you want it dark though, you can come a bit wider, because probably all about, where are we, maybe about this much here is just going to be all thick lower shrubby bushes, so I'll just indicate that there for you now so you know. That can be played with later. I'll try and use this filbert if I can. I'm not the best at these trees. A lot of you already know that, but I do give it a go. Where these leaves are coming off the trunk though, I do know for being pleasing to the eye. You want it, see how they're just there? You want them a bit more meaty and grunty. Is just put some stuff behind just to make it look a bit more busy, just some sticks like that. Just grabbing some of this perylene green and a bit of white. Get it like an antique green probably. Just something to gingerly highlight some trunks in there before I just put the slightest of the hookers in there. So what I want to do is get just something like this. The odd coming from here up. Some trunks. Now using that filbert that I put all that perylene on, I'm grabbing the Hooker's green in there. This is just going to be a subtle highlight. Now I want to get leaving the dark at the bottom, so I'm just gingerly coming out here and making stuff forward and backwards from each other. If anything, I'm just trying to do maybe the right hand side and a bit of mumble jumble here. And a lot of this mumble jumble in here can be kind of filberty bushy. I've put the slightest of white in that, the slightest, and I'm just getting the slightest lighter value of that along this side as well, just so as you can see what's in this dark mass. Not putting much from my brush onto the canvas. Look, there's not much going on. There we go. Now I've just picked up my burnt umber and black mixture, and I'll start at the bottom of this, getting it out to where I want it. So it'll come out to here, nice and straight like that. This can start coming down in front of that. And then we can block this in, leaving that dark bit there. See why I did those trees first? Just so as this can sit in front of it. A rock here, and let's say a rock there. Okay, and down here we want a lot of rocks, so pretty much what I'll do is I'll scratch them on like this. I want them coming out there. I'll just brush them on like I'm brushing them, even though it looks pretty solid and dark. Don't worry about that. Now I've dried that, but I've made a mistake. Do this brown block in after we put the reflections in. I could still do it, but we've got to put those reflections in of these trees into the water here. See how it looks a bit wrong? So we'll do these tree reflections and then put that in. And I'm going to grab me Hooker's green and me perylene green just to get a black silhouetted green colour there. And I'll use my mouse stick just to, we got one here. So what I'm going to do, just come from there, I'm just going to go like this. We got some business there, so I'm just going to come down like so. We got some business there, so that's going to come down about there. We got this one here, so he's going to come down about there. Other open stuff there. Now, I just got to paint those rocks blocks back in again, but that's okay. If anything, I'm just kind of coming through it all, giving it the scratchy vibe of a reflection look. Now I've dried it and I've just put the brown back over the reflections, okay? These colours we had over here, just grab a bit of this, bit of that, and a bit of white to marblise it. There we go. Just from about here, I want to get some grass going. Okay, so I want to kind of get it on there, push it up. There we go, yeah, that's nice.
Push it up, scratchy, that's nice, Ian. You're doing well there.
Oh, thank you. Put it on, put a bit on, scratch it up. Put a bit on. Scratch it up.
Oh, that's looking good, Ian. I like the way you're doing that. You're onto something there, man.
I've just grabbed yellow ochre, a little bit of white. Get this nice and scratched up as well, so put it on and scratch it up. Just highlighting some of that grass, flicking it up through all that dark bits here and there. Now I'm grabbing some grey, and this green that I mixed with the hookers and the perylene, I'm getting this greyed up. So over here, I'll get the odd one out here first. I want this rock right against the top there and let it fade down. Boom. Over here another one, right at the top. You're just playing with some, where I think some are. Keeping them in cahoots with the horizon line, it's important. And then just bringing some others down in front, leaving a lot of the darks in there. Get some faded ones up there. Now these ones are over there. And I'm going to gingerly get some there like that. Okay, I've dried that. Now they look a bit out there, floating. That's the mid-ground colour. I'm grabbing the darker colour of that, and I want to just gingerly now, in some of all this, get bits of dark shadow there, leaving that colour that I just put there. Now if you feel you can do this colour first and that one second, by all means, but I find it easier myself doing it this way. I'm getting the darkness back within the middle of these rocks, and just where you feel you've not lost too much of the dark, simply scratch it back. Okay, there's our colour. Grabbing the grey again, and some of this, just to get a highlight. There's the top of me rock, right to the very top, and just create the shape of your rock now. And this is where you'll be able to sit stuff behind and in front of each other. Little bits up there maybe, just tinkering, not too much. Come over don't be scared to come over the dark shadows that you put there. Try not, see I'm starting to make a lot of patterns of the hoops. I don't want it like that, so I'm going to try and distort it a bit. Get some ones out here, just getting hit with the light. This makes up all your individual rocks. That one can come right into there. Now I've grabbed some white on my brush. I left that colour, the highlighted colour, in my brush, added some more white to it, just so as I've got a brighter value. And this is just going to finish them off. Just here and there, it doesn't have to be on every rock, just the main ones. Now if you like what you see on my channel here, give me a comment, say hello, I'll say hello back. Share, like and subscribe. Become a member of my YouTube channel here. I'm grabbing some of this blue just so as I can get the rest of my glare in the water, because for those of you who've noticed, we've got it there, and remember I said we've got to bring it in, so we're going to do that now because it looks a bit funny without it, doesn't it, eh?
So let's make that happen.
So I'm going to come just under those bits of rocks here. I'm using a flat brush and I want it a nice straight but staggered glare right here. Oh, my elbow just went into my paint. I've got that many clothes with paint on the elbows, it's unbelievable. There we go, just like that. Now I want to get the edge of that rock done as well. And let it scratch out. So let's get that level. There we go.
She's level.
See, bits of the water come right in the middle of those rocks, which is great. Coming from here, right in front of the moon a bit. Nice and thin, way back in there. Look at this stick, you can control and have such straight lines like that. It's beautiful. And I'm just looking, could probably get the slightest bit of wind hitting the water here. I like doing these little bits of wind hitting the water there, keeping it level, but you can kind of taper upwards. There we go, coming from there. Just like wind hitting it. There we go. Now I was at the art shop yesterday and I've been meaning to get a Posca paint pen, but I found these instead. Though you get 2 in a packet and they were quarter of the price and they work brilliant. These are a 1.3mm tip, pretty fine. So let's sign this and we'll reveal it and whack a frame on it. And once again, thank you everybody who supports my content, much appreciated. If you see myself and other YouTubers going to the trouble of giving you free content, don't be too shy for the price of a cup of coffee to give us a little bit of support, because it goes a long way. There we go. That's not too shabby, is it? We got a moonlit lake, water depth. You can even put some dead sticks here. There's so much more you can do with that. I had fun doing it, and I know you can do it. Beautiful, vibrant, lovely painting that, all done in acrylic. If you like what I'm doing, you tell your friends. But if you don't like what I'm doing, tell everybody. Also, look at this other video right here of mine. Goodbye, good luck, and good on ya.